little step.
So how much more money do I owe you?
This little puny bumper. And I ain't gonna cut it. This thing's finally starting to look like something.
1934 Buick.
It looks perfect.
I'll tell her we're cutting this up.
We'll take this original engine out, put a late model Chevy in it.
We're gonna piss some people off.
We're gonna show it the respect it deserves.
Get some shocks in here.
He wants this thing to be able to drop on the ground also.
Holy shit, that's beautiful. And it's not yellow.
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
That's them, huh?
That's it, man.
8-inch springs.
Yes, sir.
That's what we need.
It's perfect.
It's going to put this thing in the perfect ride height.
That's way
Let's
better
go ahead and
than
get these things underneath here. Get little one. Let's knock this thing out. Let's get it bolted up. Everything is extra large on this 1996 International dump truck. It's one of the biggest builds we've ever done size-wise.
All right, let's go.
We have these leaf springs arched an extra 8 inches. You know, it's not every day we get to convert a huge old work truck into a show-quality, flatbed, militaristic truck. But man, when we're done, there's not going to be another one like it.
That was kind of difficult.
That was a little difficult. You ready for the next one?
Hey, yeah, let's do it real quick. I know that look.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do to the dump truck. A lot. I mean, rear suspension, parallel 4-link with the big, huge triple convoluted bags.
You do the whole rear end, hangers, 4-link, bag mounts, shock mount. It'll take twice as long to do the back of that truck.
Twice as long to do everything on the truck. Build the bumper, paint the thing, the whole interior.
Wasn't the engine really messed up?
Yes, that reminds me too. I put a call in with the one-way diesel guys. They're coming down, and they're going to tidy up the engine compartment and get this thing running good. At least we're getting a custom-made bed for it. It's going to be really cool. Front suspension's done, but, you know, everything's taking so much longer. Everything's bigger, heavier than we're normally working with.
I had a feeling you're fixing to tell me like you need it tomorrow or something.
We got a little time on it, but it's getting way, way behind for sure. Ready to go get after it?
Well, let's go.
Let's go do it, man. We already tore the bed off, made and installed the hangers. Now we can get going on the rear suspension. We got a super huge truck, so we need some super huge bag mount. You know, we usually use 3/16 D plates for the bag mounts, but on this one, we're gonna make bigger, thicker circle plates out of 5/16. This is the foundation of everything. This is gonna support every bit of the truck's weight, so this thing needs to be super strong. Then we'll have our spacer to simulate the bag when it's at ride height. Gonna mount that up underneath the frame. Where they're gonna be, and this thing looks so beefy in the back. I want to continue the bag mounts to look beefy too. So I want something just mean looking, right?
Hell yeah.
So I think we ought to come right off the axle up to the bag mount, and then all the way across to the other bag mount, and then down to the axle.
Okay.
Just with two.
We got it.
We'll just bend it. We're not going to roll it or anything because it's a boxy truck, so we'll continue with just square bends. It's still going to look really cool and be really strong. Looking good, man. We got the diagonal link, got the 4-link, got the bag mounts. You know, one more step.
Shock time.
That's it. We need a bottomed out measurement of our shock. So that's why we made a quick jig. Makes it super easy to duplicate. You know, with the really large size of this truck, you know, it's going to need some good dampening shocks, especially with the big triple bellow bag. You want something that's going to control the bounciness. I mean, that's basically what a shock does. It controls the rebound of the suspension. You know, sometimes it just looks like we throw a shock in place. Oh, building suspensions, placing shocks, you learn what to do and what not to do, and you improve each and every time. Every vehicle is a little different as far as weight, the angle of the shock, how stiff the shock is, relating to the weight of the vehicle, to what type of suspension, how long the suspension bars are. I mean, there's variables on everything. You know, we got some good stiff shocks at the proper angle. This thing's gonna ride really, really good.
Hey man, what's going on?
A good trip for you?
Oh, absolutely. Great roads all the way up to Houston from Oklahoma.
Man, I sure appreciate you coming down.
I think we may have built exactly what you need for this build.
Cool, man. Let's check it out. A lot of times, we just build the new truck beds. But interest of time, I designed one that Billy made just for this truck. Man, first thing you notice is that big wheel well.
Exactly. I hope you got a big enough tire to fit this.
Definitely.
I'll tell you, man, when I saw the drawings, I was concerned, but I know you, it's all good. Got your gooseneck hitch, your receiver hitch built in, so be able to tow and haul with that big rig.
Yeah, this thing's cool. You know, this isn't off the shelf.
It's not off the shelf, I'll assure you. Certainly.
Get off and get it on the truck. How much does this thing weigh, you think?
I don't know. I hadn't built it before.
What's going on, man?
Man, I need your help, buddy. This truck is just big, mean, huge lip, big tires. This little puny bumper.
Man, that ain't gonna cut it.
I want to leave the holes, the hooks, the bumper mounts, everything here.
Okay.
So all I'll have to do is split it right here, straight down here, and then straight across.
We'll just carry that all the way across.
We'll split it like that, and then all I have to do is add 8 inches in the middle. Put it all right back together.
I'm gonna go ahead and section it in the middle. We'll have a much more aggressive bumper that's gonna look perfect on this truck. Alright, so I got my filler piece now to go ahead and connect my bottom of the bumper to the top of the bumper where I section it. If I fit this properly, I won't have any issues down the road when I'm going to weld all this together. Because if it's not lined up, I'll be fighting the metal the whole time I'm welding it. Alright, so I got my centerpiece in. I'm gonna go ahead and start tacking the edges right here to make it a perfect fit. Okay, so I got the bumper looking pretty good, the 8-inch section in there. I'm really happy with the way it fit. So the next thing to do is go ahead and put the side pieces on. You just gotta do it by eye. I like that fancy footwork. It's pretty close. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack it in. So everything looks pretty good. Everything's welded solid. The next step is go ahead and mount it up to the truck and see how it looks.
The owner, John, wants a really unique truck. You know, one that can win trophies, but also get to work. So we're gonna add a winch behind the bumper. With something this size, you never know when you're gonna need one.
Okay, so now that I got the bumper mounted on here in section, everything's good on it. I'm gonna go ahead and start mounting my winch. Try to get the winch centered up somewhat behind the bumper. So first thing is to do is go ahead and start building the brackets and go ahead and mount the winch. Man, that's perfect.
Get this over to Rudy, get it burned out, and get it on the truck.
Winch bracket, I'm gonna go ahead and stick in the brake and put a 90-degree brake on it. Once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and bring it to the truck and fit it up. Now that I got my winch bracket bolted to my winch, so I'm going to go ahead and put some tack welds on it. Then I'll go ahead and put my bumper on it and check my clearance. So this is pretty much a slide for the cable. Basically, we're trying to center this up with the winch. So we don't want it too high, we don't want it too low. We want it to be centered so when it winds up or unwinds, that it's not in a bind. So it's pretty important to get this pretty close to the center of the winch, the drum, and then it'll be right. I overcut it just a little bit so the winch cable doesn't fray or catch on the metal. Pretty happy with it. Looks good. Looks right where it needs to be. So he'll be able to help people out or help himself out in a bind.
Transforming the overall look of this 1996 International dump truck is so now it's 9 feet long, which is about 3 feet shorter than it was. 9 foot, 109 inches. We're cutting the frame and boxing it in so it'll look like it came from the factory like this. And it'll be just as strong.
Close this gap up.
You know, in the early days of a big build like this, it can be hard to see how we're going to turn the old dump truck into a mean military-looking truck. But you got to keep the faith and just make it happen bit by bit. You know, when a custom car guy and an antique come together, that's just a combination to make something really cool and over the top. You know, Javier's in a lowrider club. He's got to show up and show off. He's got to keep his rep up. We built a ton of cars for Javier, like this 46 Chevy right here. And anytime he calls, we're happy to help.
Hey, Bill. How's it going, man? Good to see you.
Hey, real good. Good to see you.
Man.
Good to see you. Man, your cars are looking good.
Oh, man, thanks. Remember this one?
Yeah, that thing's still looking good, too.
And you did a great job on that. I'm a welder by trade, and I know his welds are perfect. Funny to say that, but
Before you know.
and you've done 3 for me. I've got one more for you, though.
Let's go check it out.
Let's go.
Man, that's a good-looking car.
1934 Buick.
This thing's like new.
80 years old. I found it in North Carolina. Guy had it in the garage for years.
This thing was top of the line back in the day. You don't find many 1934 Buick Model 57s looking this original, this clean. Well, what do you want to do to this? I mean, it looks perfect.
You know, Bill, I like driving. And right now, I can't drive this thing. The car's not reliable. It overheats. So I want to be able to go where I want to go and not have any problems at all.
So what's under the hood now?
It's straight A. You want to look at it?
Wow, this thing is cool.
Pretty old, isn't it?
Straight 8, you don't see that a lot.
No.
So you want to take this original car, take this original engine out, and replace it with something else.
Bill, that's what I want to do.
This is one of the very few times that I'm a little hesitant about taking this car apart.
We're going to piss some people off.
Definitely. Some people are going to be mad.
You know, a lot of people don't like changing parts. They like to keep cars all original, but I like driving them. So
Original engine out, put a late model Chevy in it. That way you got your reliability, fuel economy, power, something you can just get in and drive wherever.
that's what I want, Bill.
That's what you're going to get. If we're already going that far with this thing, we might as well put some air suspension on this thing and get it down really low. I know how you and your boys like to ride low.
We roll fast, but we also roll low.
Gotta lower it.
You gotta lower it.
You know, to even get this thing a little lower, we'll put a little bit lower profile tire and take these wheels and change the color. Just make it stand out a little more.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's got to be it. We can't chop the top or cut the interior out or paint it a different color or anything. I mean, we're already committing blasphemy with the Buick people. You ready to piss some people off?
That's why I called you, Bill.
Man, bringing a car in this old, this original, this cool, it's a shame just to do anything to it other than wash it. And we're just going to tear it all apart. I have my reservations, but I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it's us that's going to get our hands on it. We're going to show it the respect it deserves. And, you know, this car is so original. There's nothing been done to it. So we're going to be the first ones to do that. all our parts and pieces that we're going to build are going to make sure the car is done perfect.
Didn't you guys have one of these when you were little? Brand new?
Man, first gotta wash this thing, clean it up a little bit, a little maintenance, right?
Customer's got a different idea on that one.
Don't tell me we're cutting this up.
That's what he wants, man. The problem with this thing is the straight 8 in it is just not reliable for him. He wants something he can just get in, turn the key, start it up, cruise wherever he wants to go, and not have to worry about all the issues that come with the old technology here. So what we're going to do is pull this out, put a late model LS in it, something he can just get in it, hit the key, and go wherever he wants, not have to worry about overheating or anything. We're going to replace the rear end, give him something a little more of a strength to it, man. This one definitely won't hold up to the power LS puts out. New drive line, the whole new running gear, disc brakes, front and back. He wants this thing to be able to drop on the ground also. So we got to replace the straight axle in the front of this thing, replace it with independent front suspension and air suspension on top of that. So when he gets where he's going, drop this thing on the ground.
Hell yeah.
Man, you really don't have any issue cutting this thing up, huh?
If it ain't cut, it ain't custom.
I hear you, man, but we want to give it a little extensive style. Something maybe like a coil pack cover to maybe go with the styling of the car.
It'll make not as many people hate us for putting an LS on this thing.
It doesn't matter what we do. They're going to hate us for pulling this one out. Let's get this thing up on the rack, start tearing it apart.
Cool.
First things first, the little one's got to rip out the old suspension and then the motor.
Man, it's crazy this old car has a gearbox style mechanism on the top of it. Usually they just have a bushing and a straight bolt, but since this is definitely not a gearbox, it's more than likely something with gears and oil. Man, they were smart back then. Everything's pretty much off the bottom. Now we can go ahead and just get this grill off, and then we can pull the engine out. Whew, that was heavier than I thought. Man, dude, look at all those springs.
And they don't really make them like this anymore, do they?
Nah, they don't at all. Here, let's get this on so we can get this motor out of here.
All right. Back it up.
It was like a Cummins engine, it's so huge.
I don't think I've ever seen one like it, man.
I wonder if Al Capone used this car.
Probably not, man. We don't see any bullet holes in this engine.
Designing the suspension on this old school Buick definitely has some challenges. None of our off-the-shelf parts are going to work, so Ryan's got to get busy by making all custom parts.
We're going to start now with making the mounts for the 2 links. As you can see, what we get to work with here, we would typically just make our own cross member, but with the structure and everything that's going on here, I don't think it's necessary. We can reinforce this and build the brackets off of this, and it will work just as well, and it will look great. That's perfect. Taking my templates over to Rudy so he can burn them out. Hey, dude.
What's up?
Is that quarter? That's quarter.
That is quarter.
I was going to have you cut 2 of these out for me so I could just cut this while you were doing that, but since that's quarter, I'm just going to make you cut all of them out for me. I know you're not doing anything over here.
That's what I'm here for, right?
Appreciate you.
Once I get all my curves and lines figured out, I'll trim everything up, transfer it over into the program, cut Ryan's pieces out, clean them up, take them over to him.
Alright, so after I get my pieces cleaned off, get all the slag chipped off of these, I'll take the template and mark the lines where I need a bend. I'll use that other little template that I made. I'll take it over to the big break and I'll just slowly bend it until I get the right radius that I want. Everything we do is trial and error. I'd like to get it on the first time, but I don't always work out that way. Cut that out with the plasma cutter. And tack it in. All right, so we got the plates welded into the frame, stiffen it up. Also gave us a mounting point for our 2-link tabs. The tabs basically will weld to the frame, and this is going to be your mounting point. This is your pivot point here. So this is where it's going to connect to the rear end. We'll start here and move our way to these other cars are built and just so rigid. It's a really rough ride. This would be like night and day difference. It would be riding on a cloud versus riding in a wagon barrel down a gravel road, you know? So I think what we're doing here is a little better.
Dang, man.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, man.
This thing is rough, dude.
The diesel in this dump truck came to us in rough shape. There was a lot of creative fixes and even garden hose under the hood. John, the owner, wants to keep this engine and make it reliable, so I asked the Wells family to come on in and get this thing running right.
Bro wasn't lying, was he?
No, I can see why they call it the dump truck.
This thing is terrible, man. Got some electrical tape there.
On a fuel hose? That's a hazard just waiting to happen.
Yeah, we've got our work cut out for us, man. First things first, let's get this big honking piece of trash off here. Let's clean that up with a newer, updated intake.
Help it breathe a little more?
Yeah, get a little more power out of it. We need to change out all the radiator hoses, get all this stuff cleaned up. Watch out. You'll give it a little more appeal under the hood.
That insulation is not going to work. We're going to have to rip that out. We'll probably have to do something about the heat, so we'll heat wrap this sound pipe. What we have here is exhaust wrap. Just say firewall, getting your feet nice and hot. It also helps clean up your engine bay and make it look a lot nicer. All right, now we got all the ugliness out of it. It's time to start cleaning her up and moving forward. What we have here is a K&N air filter. They are really good about airflow. They allow air to get in and keep the most dirt and grime out of the engine. She's a lot better than she was.
That's right, bro. Let's get the hose on there. Last thing we gotta get taken care of, the safety hazard of this wiring.
Yeah, I'd hate for something bad to happen there.
These wires, when they're bunched together, can cause a break in the circuit and them to short out. The short, it can create a spark, and right here by the fuel system, it's a terrible thing to happen. So I'm gonna trim this off, put us a butt connector in here, a heat shrink one, so we can keep this sealed off from the elements. Move the wiring and take the slack out in other places so it's a smoother transition from here to main harness. And then get it all nice and zip tied out of the way so it doesn't look like trash. Well, that's it, man. I think we got it all.
We ended up having to do a few extra things to it, but I think it was well worth it. No, it's not going to catch on fire.
It looks 10 times better, a lot safer. It's ready to go, man.
School bus yellow isn't going to cut it on the dump truck. It needs a big color change to give it that militaristic, overall mean look.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. I got the color for the old dump truck. A metallic gun barrel gray is really going to be the way to go on this. Not just that, but I think I want to go with the two-tone.
Two-tone?
Black bed, black running boards, and the very, very roof I want all black also.
Damn, it's going to look enojado.
What's that?
Real mean. Real mean.
That's it,
right,
buddy. Do it to it.
Got it.
I want something on this truck that's really going to stand the test of time. I don't want army green. I don't want the Desert Storm tan. The gunmetal gray is definitely going to make this thing look really cool, give it an aggressive look, and still be custom. John, the client, said he wanted this international dump truck to be unique. We're definitely heading in that direction. Now it's time for the custom flatbed.
Next project is getting this thing on the truck, which is not going to be an easy task because it's got such a long bed in the back, we can't pick it up from the rails.
You got to spend extra time to do every little step. You know, just picking the bed up is just one more example of how much work goes into something like this. We're about to see if it'll work.
Gunmetal gray, the black, it's just going to tie together perfectly.
Ready?
Yeah.
We'll bolt it down from there.
Go down.
This is a big ass bed. This thing's finally starting to look like something.
It definitely gave it the industrial look that he was looking for.
Right? Definitely no more school bus now. This thing looks mean. Man, it's a good day. We'll get the rest of this thing tomorrow, mount this bed, start building the running boards on this thing. Good night. This truck's so tall, we're going to need some extra steps going in. So we're going to make some running boards / steps, and I'd like to make it one solid piece. The problem with that is the cab's 7 foot long, and our equipment's running boards out of 2 pieces. It just takes extra time to get everything 100%, and this truck flexes a lot, so over time it wouldn't line up as if it would if it was one piece. I'm gonna go see my old buddy Ernest at Diamond Sheet Metal. He always helps us out. I've known Ernest since I was a kid. He's one of the Northside experts I can always count on.
What we got going on?
Man, I'm working on Old International. Thing's way off the ground. It's a huge truck.
Way off the ground, all right.
So I need some running boards / steps integrated in it.
Okay.
I need 2 pieces, 7 foot at a 14 gauge.
We can break it up to 12 foot. 10 foot, whatever you need.
Well, I only need 7. I know you got the big brakes, the big shears. So whenever I can't do it, I come see you.
We can have it.
Well, thank you, man.
All right.
Give me a call, man, when you got it.
I'll do it, man. Take care. When Bill shows up in my shop, I know it's something I got to hurry up and do, so I usually stop, produce whatever he wants. Back in the 70s, that's how long I've been knowing Bill. He used to lower bikes, stuff like that, and I knew he had a great future in it because if he can do it with a bicycle, he can do it with a car. We're making all these marks, they got to be right on the money. These are where the brakes are going to be. If you don't mark them off right, we got to start all over. You got to mark here with a circle, it's going to be bent up. No circle, it's going to be bent on the other side, bent down. If you don't bend these things right, all the money and material is wasted.
Undercarriage of this old school Buick is structurally different from most of the vehicles we work on. They just don't make them like this anymore.
You know, there's not a whole bunch to the rear of these cars. It's real thin sheet metal and a lot of wood, so we don't have a lot to work off of, and I don't want to just weld straight to the frame rail because they're like 10 gauge. It's real thin. So I'm making a foundation basically to be able to, build my rear suspension off of. What this is going to do is act as part of my frame. We'll get some back brackets on there, some shocks, diagonal link, and we'll have a brand new suspension on the rear of this car. That's it. Let's do some shocks. Let's get some shocks in here. With the way that I'm putting the shock and where it's going to be placed, I just want a bag that's never going to hit it. Even though we do a bunch of air suspension here, every application is different for the most part. The concept is the same, but actual building it and getting into it and making it functional and making it work and the geometry and staying the same, it's all different. That's what keeps this job, interesting and makes it fun to come to work every day because it's not that repetitive, same old, every single day. But it's done back here and now we get to move on to the front. Got the lower control arm bolted up and the spindle bolted up. As you can see where the frame comes and where my lower control arm is, there's no room for a bag, there's no room for anything. So just like everything else, we're gonna have to make it work. Decompress with no air in the bag is gonna be 3 inches, right? I'll take this 3-inch block, describe a line all the way across. Judging by the looks of this right here, my tie rod's gonna be somewhere in this area here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just cut what we need with the plasma, make a plate to fill it. For the most part, I got everything cut out. Right now, I'm gonna get some 4-inch flat block to make my fill piece here. fit. Everything is going to be built off of this plate right here for our upper bag bracket. So this is critical in making sure that this is fit up properly and welded in properly. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to trim it back, get a nice fit up, get it tacked in, then we'll weld it off. And whenever you're welding, you want to get a nice weld, a nice fuse. You want to go from metal to metal. You don't ever want it to overlap completely and then just weld the outside. It's not going to get anything in there. It's not fusing anything. What I'm looking for on this is just trying to match the same radius here. Just I want that same roll all the way through so it looks like nothing was ever touched. It looks like it came like that. So just start on the flat spots first. I like to knock it down and make sure it's flat and then start rolling. So once I get it kind of close, I'll come back with the flat disc and then clean it up and get rid of most of these lines. Hit it with a DA or a wire wheel. I mean, that's pretty much it. I've been liking it. Looks real nice. We got work to do, man.
Ryan's putting together the last little bits of the front suspension on the old school Buick.
So this is exactly where it's going to be right here. Now everything's in place. I can just attach it to the top of the frame, get that tacked in there, throw a shock mount on here, and drop our motor in here pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Man, I get it. I totally know what you're talking about. You know what we can do? We can just pause on it, let you think about that. Once you think about it, let me know. We'll get back on it. All right.
Just the person I'm looking for.
Man, I just got off the phone with Javier, with the Buick. He's not real sure of what engine he wants to put in it, so he wants to put that thing on pause for a minute. The customer needs some time to make the right decisions on the right engine, so we're going to give that to him. I get it, man. He wants to think about exactly what he wants. We don't want to give him nothing that he's not 100% sure about. The extra time always takes a toll on the bottom line, but that's what we're doing to make it right. Trust me, this thing will be perfect when it's finished. Cut a piece 32 and 3. Don't chop it on top of the panel board. It was a working dump truck, so the interior left a lot to be desired. Just tape it to it. You definitely can't have that, so John's gonna make it right.
We're building a big, badass dump truck, so we got to get something that's going to be utilitarian and follow along in design and keep up with the beating around this truck's going to get. So we're going to make some really cool door panels. The idea that we have here is we're going to make a metal kick plate. That way it's good and rugged for climbing in and out. You kick it with your boots, whatever, it's good to go. This is kind of the fun part to me, the creative part. You get in here, you get to lay this out, really actually bring your idea into fruition. With this truck, it's big, it's boxy, it's a beast coming down the road. So you open the door, you want to kind of have that same idea. It just needs to say, I'm ready to work. Next thing I'm going to do, start cutting this apart, and we'll transfer it onto the base panels, and we'll get it foamed up. Here's my foam. Time to get busy. Like I hadn't been busy already. Alright, now I'm just going to trace this out. When you're cutting this foam down, if you put any kind of lean in it, and it will show up in the end, or it's tougher to have to sand out. So just kind of work keeping that blade straight up and down. We're actually going to put a beveled edge around this, and that way when it comes up, it'll dip down into the insert panel, up both sides. So just cool little detail. Get all that thing beveled back, and once that's done, we put another layer over it. I'm going to wrap the doors in marine vinyl while Jamie's cutting out the steel for the kick plates.
This is going to look really good on the door panels that John's doing. I went ahead and cut this out of 18 gauge steel, just sheared it. Now I'm going to cut it to the right size, go ahead and prep the material, and I'll bring it back to it. All right, looks good. I'm happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and bring John, go ahead and do a test fit real quick and go from there.
See how she fits. Cool, man. Perfect fit.
Cool, well, let me go knock out the mother 3.
Can't wait to get over to the body shop and let them get this thing painted, get this door panel together. It'll look pretty cool.
It's gonna look nice.
Panel harness did really, really good. I mean, all the angles look exactly perfect, exactly what I wanted. So next step is just get this up here and start shaping it. Hey, pretty soon we'll have a running board.
Put your hand out there.
So about 5 inches. And we made it a little bit too long so we could shrink it down, cut a little here, a little there, make this thing fit perfect. From the front fender well all the way to the bed.
Man, that's a big difference. That's nice. It's gonna make it real easy to get right on up in here.
Next step is just shaping it perfect to the fender itself.
Pretty cool little trick right there.
Used to have a sign company across the street. Showed me that. Of course, we just could have squared the ends off and put it on. You know, taking the time to shape it, to make it fit the truck.
It's like the front just right here needs to come in a little bit.
As if it would have came from the factory like that. That's what I want it to look like in the end. You know, no matter what we're working on, a little extra time, a little extra cut, a little extra weld makes a huge statement in the overall project. Can't wait to see this thing black up against that gray. It's really going to finish the whole thing off.
My name L1 actually means little one, and I got that name around the age of 14. Doing electrical, body shop, and paint, I always wanted to keep on learning, keep on going to the next thing. Start from the bottom, work your way to the top. You gotta know how to do every single part of the job. The first thing I learned how to do was actually sweep up a shop. If you don't know how to sweep up a shop, then you shouldn't be doing much of anything else. I'm not done learning yet. This is me with 10 years experience. I want to see myself with 20 years experience, 30 years experience. You always want to get something right and then keep on learning, but you got to learn the right way with the right people. If you're not open-minded to learn from others, then you're not going to get very far in this business. I like working at Extensive. The talent here is so diverse, and it's just crazy the amount of knowledge that you can gain. If something breaks, you make it. If you can't find it, you make it. If you can't do it, you make it and you do it. And that's why we keep building the best things that come out.
And like that, what was an ugly international dump truck has become something else entirely. Installing the seats, doors, running board, 10-inch tall tires. There won't be another custom truck quite like this on the road.
Hey, Bill, what's up?
Hello.
Hi, and good to see you as always.
Same.
What up, Johnny? You know, I've known John Wood for quite some time. I love this guy, but I love messing with him too.
You got some news for me?
Well, I wanted you to come out and check this thing out. I got a couple questions on it.
That usually means there's problems, so how much more money do I owe you?
Right? I called him in, told him we had a couple issues with this truck. You already know how rough that thing is.
It shouldn't have any rust. It was covered with tar.
You know, I can tell right now he's super worried. He thinks this is going to cost him a lot. You ready to go check it out?
Yeah, let's go see what we got going. It always bothers me when you say you have a problem and you want me to... Oh, that's not a problem. That's done. You lied to me. You're lying to my face. Holy, that's beautiful. And it's not yellow.
Of course, there was a couple problems, but now it definitely runs and
that
drives.
Thing is bad A.
It's ready to roll, John.
It's really, really neat.
What do you think about the bumper on this thing? Split it, added 8 inches, made this thing way bigger with the big winch on it.
Added a winch. He even added a winch. I didn't ask for it. We're going to get it stuck sooner or later, and we're going to need the thing. I knew it was big when I saw it at the office, but in here, this thing's huge.
It was already big, but it's way, way, way bigger now.
The color choice was good.
Right? Getting rid of the school bus yellow was most definitely an essential part of the build. Changing it to gunmetal gray and making it a two-tone, it was definitely the right way to go.
Well, that's very different.
Right? You had creative fixes all throughout. This thing was a fire hazard for sure. My one-way diesel guys came in, they just fixed everything and addressed all the issues.
I
I knew it was bad. I had no idea it was actually a fire hazard. I'm glad they fixed it all up because, you know, I have employees that are going to drive it, and it has to be safe. Wow.
What do you think about this thing?
I love it. This is great.
Right? This is way better before. Those old steps on this thing, you can see all the frame. Couldn't have that new running boards on this thing and integrated the steps in it.
Vertically challenged, dude. I have to wait to get up there. You refinished it all. New seats, carpet, door panels. Wow. Wow. I bet it doesn't even stink in
new smell in there. Just had to rip all that out. Had the seats redone, got new carpet in it, and there was no door panels in this thing.
Right.
So John and Daniel hooked you up with that. You know, we could have just wrapped this thing, changed the color. But,
this is way better than a wrap.
You know, this is going to represent your company and mine, so we got to do this thing right, man.
Absolutely. Now on to the good stuff.
Right? What do you think about that?
It looks correct.
No more dump truck, right?
No more dump truck for sure.
Cut the back of the frame off, scooted the axle forward. All the suspension was all handmade underneath this thing. It's got a huge 4-link on this with big triple billow bags, so you can haul whatever you put on the back of this thing can haul it.
Wow.
And ride.
And ride
super smooth. And the bed was built specifically for this truck. You see the big wheel well opening.
Yeah.
So what do you think, man? Is this going to work for you?
Absolutely. I'm afraid to scratch it now. The bed scale matches the truck scale with the giant wheels and tires. It's a functional truck, and we're going to work this truck. You can tell the people that do this, they're craftspeople.
That's right. We all have passion for what we do, for sure. You know, this is just one more example just to show how Good Guy in the Shop just kicked ass time and time and time again. I know this thing is going to do everything you could ever want with it and even way, way more.
Thank you.
Again. And then you throw Earl Campbell's name on top of this, the NFL legend. Nah, there's no pressure there. This is a 1940 F100. How's this thing ride? Like a buck horse? Looking at this frame, there's just no saving it. Just turned into a full frame makeover. Some things snowball. This is pretty much an avalanche. Check this thing out.
Ah, there we go.
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
You know, you pick up, you expect to go get a car, a whole car. As you can see, this definitely isn't the case. We have a body, frame, and parts. Crates and crates of parts. Apparently, whoever had this car last took it apart, didn't really know what to do, how to finish this. God, dog, there's some shit in here. You know, it's not like this project isn't out of our realm, but in a situation like this, you don't know what you got until you really start putting this thing together and seeing what you don't have. You know, a project this size is a lot of work, but no matter what we have to do, it's all going to be worth it, especially for the client we're building for here. Man, you told me you had a 1949 Cadillac. I got boxes of a 1949 Cadillac.
Well,
Earl Campbell was maybe one of the toughest players I've ever seen.
Born and played in Texas, around Houston, he's more than a Hall of Famer. He's a legend.
I tell you, I'm here because after I saw Slim Thug, that Cadillac you did, so I better get that 49 on over here. I like the color fields, I like the stands, I like that air suspension on it. And when I get there, this Zoo can build my 49 Cadillac.
Hey, I was real good at putting those models together when I was a kid.
Yeah, so I think you can do it.
Yeah.
If you did that with Slim Thugs, I've seen that. You can kind of handle that.
We can take your 1949 and make this just as cool and custom. You know, we've been watching you for years and years, me and my dad. I mean, there's history there. It's gonna be cool.
That's great. Thank you guys very much.
Heck yeah. You know, Earl really liked Slim's car, but at least it rolled in as a complete car. Now this, just parts, we definitely got our work cut out for it. How crazy can we get with this?
Well, I will say this. I think an LS engine has to be part of it.
There you go.
I like that air suspension on it. And pull up and let it come down.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to riding on that too.
I know you got to be looking good around here in Houston in that car, man. What are you seeing in this old Cadillac?
Let me tell you this. I like black cars. So that 49 got to be black.
What do you think about the interior ideas?
Inside of it is going to be the Texas orange. I was number 20 at UT. Of course, that's on a one burnt orange. So I figured I could bring you a number 20 jersey.
You know, with the black jersey open?
Ooh, it's hot. I'm gonna use more. That's plenty.
Keeping all this together is real critical, especially like on a 49 Cadillac. You don't just find passenger door parts just at your hardware store.
You know, most of the time when a car comes in, it's complete. Then you take it apart and you start building. In this case, all the parts are crammed in the car, crammed in boxes, crammed everywhere. We don't know what we're even working with. So first things first, we have to lay it all out
and to see where to start with this whole puzzle.
This is my first time ever putting a 49 Cadillac together. And we don't even know if all the pieces are there. So that's what we're figuring out now. How many pieces we're missing so we can start assembling the car.
I'm gonna have Ryan put the front end on just to really see what we're looking like. We have to build the car in order to take the car apart to build the car again. So, you know, we're already 10 steps back. I'll throw Campbell's name on top of this. Nah, there's no pressure there. What up, fellas?
What up, man?
What's happening? You ready to get this thing going?
Mm-hmm. We're just talking about how the front end made a huge difference on this car.
Man, it's a cool car. Cool body style, the 49 Cadillac. You know, we've never built one of these, but, you know, ain't no problem.
Nah.
It's a real cool car for a real cool guy that I'm honored to be able to get to work on this car for him. What I want to do is build something just unique to show everyone this is how Extensive does it. Full custom chassis, air suspension, and the biggest wheel possible on this thing. Full custom interior, wants to bring his Texas colors inside the car. You know how we do.
Oh, yeah.
We got to put some power in this thing. I want him to get behind the wheel and just keep scared for a minute. You know what I mean? The end result is just going to be, wow.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Let's put a little bit more of the car together to really see what we're working with. The little stuff, we're not a restoration shop, so we're not trying to put every part and piece back on this thing the way it came from the factory. We're in the making cool-ass car business, and that's what we're going to do. So first things first, let's get this up at a good working height, the front fenders. We'll start building chassis. Y'all ready to get to it?
Let's do it. Yeah, dude.
As you can see, I got a nice little rust patch here, same as the other side. I just grinded it just so I can see how much of it was good and what was bad. As you can see, this is just built up rust from over the years. This is where all the water sits, you know? It's everything that runs down the car on the inside and everything. Water has no other where to go. It sits there and it just sits and sits and sits and ends up eating through everything. And this is a common place for rust repair. This, cab corners, anything like that, very typical. slice it up. I'm gonna cut it out and replace this as well.
And making a one-off frame. You know, anytime we're starting a chassis, the first thing we do is determine where the ground is going to sit. Pull it tight, just real quick. You know, 9 times out of 10, we want those things flat on the ground. So we build the frame tucked up underneath the car. That way it can ride lower, sit lower, and just overall look cooler. You use a string line to simulate where the ground's going to be. So that's what we're doing right now to figure out a couple little clearance measurements, and then we'll kind of go from there to get a game plan on the frame. 1/4 inch back. Okay, that is center. The next thing we measure for is length. So we've determined where we want the end of the frame, 37 1/4. And just come up with all them measurements, transfer it to the table. So we'll have all our templates to go cut our material. Last little piece there, we're ready to start cutting. Not every project comes into the shop in pieces like Earl's Caddy, thank goodness. But sometimes we get the complete opposite. A truck that looks almost unmattered. Hey, good morning.
Hello, Bill. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, nice to meet you. It's a cool little truck you got. This is a 1940 F100 Ford pickup. Whoever worked on this before kept its original styling, but still gave it a little custom look.
Had it about 4 years now. Bought it from a friend of mine out of Dallas. Wife always liked farm trucks, and he had one.
It's a cool looking truck. It's definitely got the farm feel here. Did you buy this, just like this?
Pretty much. The only thing I've done is put tires on it.
So you've been driving it pretty regularly?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
We put thousands of miles on it, using it to go on car show trips. Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi.
Think pretty comfortable inside?
Not at all.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean. It's cramped in here. It must be brutal riding this thing across the country.
It is. For the driver, it's pretty bad. Definitely kills your back.
What we need to do, Chris, is just tear everything in here out and just start over. Let's maximize every inch of space and give you as much room as possible so we can make it as comfortable for you as can be.
Right.
How's this thing ride?
Like a buck horse. So that's a problem too.
You and your wife have been traveling, putting yourself through that misery.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Air suspension on this thing just solve all those issues.
Good, that's what we're looking for.
Chris, what you got back here?
Well, that's a Ford with the heartbeat of a Chevy.
What do you got in the hood of this thing?
Man, it's an old Chevy 327.
Let's check it out. Oh, small block, huh?
Yeah.
Most people like to keep that secret, but old Chris is proud of it. He likes that Chevy heartbeat in the Ford truck. How's this thing run?
Well, it runs okay, but it definitely has a drinking problem. I don't have to change oil, I just add it at every trip.
Well, there's a couple ways we can do this. We can just do a little surgery on this thing, freshen it up, or just do a total transplant and just pull this thing out. Just putting a late model LS in this thing, something really dependable with a lot of power, to be real cool in it.
That'll work. I was thinking about rebuilding this motor, but you might as well just go all the way, replace the motor, and that way it's more dependable, easy ride, and I still have the Ford and the Chevy all in one.
Let's go make it happen.
All right.
And when a truck like this comes in, you just think, man, that's cool. I mean, this truck is 70 years old, probably not around anymore. Man, it's really cool to get this in and keep people interested in vehicles like this and being able to put our own spin on it to even make it even cooler for the next generation to see and, and interest them. Chris has been in the rules a little bit, putting a Chevy engine in a Ford truck, but there's no rules to custom. You can change stuff, you can add this, add that, do it however you want it. That's the definition of custom. If Chris wants a Chevy engine on the Ford, we're going to give him exactly what he wants and then some.
So just so you guys know, I spotted something. That's a Chevy and a Ford. We're replacing the motor, right?
We're replacing the motor, but we're replacing it with the Chevy.
So Chris likes being the guy known to drive a Ford with a Chevy motor?
That's his deal. That's what everybody knows him by.
I can't say I blame the guy. You know? I mean, really. What else are we doing to this thing besides changing the heartbeat with another heartbeat?
Chris and his wife go to car shows all over the country. They travel in this. They don't trailer it. They get in it and they drive this thing to ride good, look good when it's parked. Not only that, we need to build a bigger fuel cell for him, something that they don't have to stop every 200 miles and get fuel.
Gotcha.
They only want to stop when they want to stop, not when they have to stop.
All right, so let me chase down a previously loved GM power plant. You do that, we're going to rip the front end off, get the motor and trans out, and we'll let you know if we need anything else.
Let's do it.
Wait on you, man.
You know, that old suspension didn't age well. Jamie and Ryan are going to cut all that out
and make room for that new air suspension, adding a notch on the frame for that rear end. Wow, so no wonder this guy was having a bumpy ride. Looks like they cut the springs and put these little tensioners in there. That's a quick fix. So I actually grew up in a household with my dad. He was in the hot rods, and he's got nothing but old Fords, and every one of them has big block Chevrolets in them. So this is really common for me. It's kind of childhood right here with a Chevrolet motor and a Ford. Pretty familiar. Oh man, it looks pretty clean around here.
Yeah, dude, it's not too bad actually.
See why we want to change this out. It's pretty small.
It is pretty small.
Yeah.
You really don't see those mufflers no more. That's cool that he went his own little route with it.
Yeah.
Let's tear it all apart, man.
Let's do it. Okay, so we got everything cut out of our 40 Ford right here. So our next step is go ahead and put the notch in. Basically, we got to make this off this notch, match the bottom of this door, so we're going to make sure everything looks parallel.
31 7/16
on the money. Then go ahead and tack it. Then do the same thing on the other side.
So now that we got our notch plates tacked in and everything is right where we want it, we're going to make all of our filler plates now. We want the structure there, so we'll put this, plate it, tack it in, and weld it all before we cut the centers out. You don't ever want to just put your notches in there and then cut it out right away because you have no structure and the frame could buckle, move all over the place, and do its own thing. So now I can go ahead and cut the center part out. I just got to add some fillers, weld it out, and the notch is done. And that's how you knock out a notch.
Pulling out the old engine on the 1940 Ford. Full front end is, and it's really bad. Man, I've been thinking about which way to go with this, and this just, we can't build around this.
Yeah.
No matter what we do, this is still going to be here.
Yeah.
We got to cut all this out of the way. Let's save this part of the frame.
Okay.
You know, go back in with the filler in here and make it look like it hadn't been touched. Like this part of the frame is brand new.
Right.
And then we'll start from there.
We'll
get our new cross member in here. Then we can put our engine in.
Everything that we got here is just complete crap. It's bent, it's old, it's poorly fabricated. It's not gonna work with what we're doing. So I'm gonna cut everything out and start from scratch.
You know, I'm looking at this frame and just seeing all the dead ends we're gonna hit. Every roadblock, every step down the way. There's just no saving it. You know, it's going to be best for us just to think totally outside the box and make something a lot better. Rebuilding the front of this frame is definitely going to make it a lot stronger and save us a whole lot of headaches in the future.
All right, everything's spit up, looking real good. It's just grind it all up and we'll be ready for our cross member. I need to grind this so I can get a good weld. Gotta get all these tacks did. So I got all the welding done. I'm just gonna grind these welds down. Once I'm done, these front horns will look brand new. and then we can move on to the cross member. Alright, I'm done. I'm going home.
Of a ground up build like this 49 Caddy, I think from the ground up. Hand making a frame lets us personalize the vehicle totally to the person, bottom to the top. You know, it's a huge honor to get to build something for the legend Earl Campbell. You know, we build a lot of frames, but we're really gonna do what we can to make this special, you know, not only for Extensive, but for Earl himself.
Here's him running over everybody in the NFL. We're gonna build a frame that strong.
Good. Now we have this all tightened down flat against the table. You can see we have a nice little gap in between the tubing. It looks like a bad fit, but you know, my preference is having that 3/16 gap in between each intersection of the tubing. That way we can weld that thing back and forth and not have to have a huge bevel or worry about penetration. Once this is welded, you know it's going to stay there forever. All right. All finished up with the vertical weld. We're going to let this thing cool off. Then we can bust it apart, stand it, start building cross members. It's good. It's still a little warm, man, but it'll be good. Let's do it. Because we make our parts on site, as soon as we think it, we start making it to the exact dimensions we need. You know, that's the total definition of custom. Immediate satisfaction. You know, Earl's car, we're going to be using a 2-link suspension, which is a 2x2 square tubing linked from the hanger to the axle. That's why it's called 1997. I've been using it on about 80% of our vehicles since day one. It's ideal for a car like Earl, so we can get it really low and still get a lot of lift out of it, and it improves the handling for about 85% over the factory also. So this is the perfect suspension for this job. You know, one thing pretty unique to the 2-link itself is we're still using U-bolts. It's still going to connect the U-bolts to the axle to hold this all super tight. You know, use a piece of DOM and we weld it onto the link bar itself, so we don't have a traditional little anchor plate at the bottom. Using the DOM to the side of the link bar, it keeps everything super tight and it adds a little style to it also. Cool, we got the link bars all mocked up. Now it's time to get underneath there and mock up the suspension. See if it fits now. Two links are in. Last little bit is making a cross member to hang the 2 links onto, and that holds the whole rear suspension of the car. After that, bag mounts, shock mounts, diagonal link, we're ready to put it under the car. We finished the metalwork on the custom chassis and suspension for the 49 Cadillac. We got the bag mounts in, link bars in, suspension's done other than shocks. Shoot, we're ready to put this thing in the car. Now we're going to connect the frame to the front cross member and the core support. We got the frame all attached to the body back here, so we know it's not going to go anywhere. So the next step, let's run our string line so we know where the center is. That's definitely a little forward. Let's start putting our front cross member up here. Get that all centered level. We'll start building from there all the way back and tie it in and tie right into the front. It's a done dilly. Okay.
Now we have the right angles where they connect. What we're doing now is making it go from a 5-inch frame to a 3-inch frame on top of the cross member. So we're having to basically pie a section out of it. So now what we have here is we have this piece cut down to match the 5-inch frame and the 3-inch frame rail. So what we'll do is we'll put this cap on top. We'll weld the sides to the cross member. Now we have this all tacked into place. We'll finish welding it out. We'll sand it down with the big pad. We'll never know it was cut. It'll transition from a 5-inch frame to a 3-inch frame and fit perfectly on the frame.
Step 198 complete. We got the front rails connecting to the cross member. Next step is weld this out. Then step 199 in the frame building process is connecting it to the core support mount part of the frame. So after that's done, frame's 100% complete. Just like the customer asked, we got that new Chevy engine for the 40 Ford.
Okay.
Because it's a new engine and trans, we just want to make sure this thing fits perfect. Got our engine in place. What should have been a quick air suspension job just turned into a full frame makeover. Cutting out parts and pieces of the frame that should have never been damaged in the first place, building a new cross member, and just slicking the whole frame, making it look brand new. With all the metal work we done on this truck, the interior, I asked Keith to make it custom.
All right, we got the 44 door panel all shaped out. We've got all the foam work done. Now I just need to disassemble it, get it wrapped up. We're gonna use the same materials and do some sculpting, but still have that modern hot rod type feel on this old truck. Try to cut it to where you're taking out the bulk of the material, but you can come back and trim later. But this is another technique that I do that most trimmers don't do. I just kind of bunch it up around the corners. I come in close, trim it with my knife. I melt the ends, and so it actually helps stick it down and gets rid of all these little bumps. I figured this method out myself. Now, we see we got this part wrapped. We'll move on to the other pieces. Down inside there. Just kind of stick it down, and then I try to manually, just with my hand, kind of tuck it in as much as I can. But then now you take this tool and just slowly run it through. Some people call these a no-sew pleat. I call it a heath roll. You know, it's not like this process is super difficult. It's just paying attention to the details. It's the little things that make a difference. Anything I build, I try to put a lot of little details into. Out of the line, all the way down. This is where you have to have a steady hand. Most people don't feel comfortable doing this freehand. I don't feel comfortable with a straight edge. You can be very careful with this foam. It can just rip off a chunk out of nowhere sometimes. It'll make you mad enough to throw it across the room. All right, we got the base panel wrapped. Now what we're gonna do is take this cool material. Being that it's an older vehicle, I want to bring fabric into it instead of everything being a vinyl or leather. It looks great, man. It came out looking real good. I like the fabric in there, along with the black to tie into the rest of the vehicle. It still has that old school feel to it, but it looks new.
You know, we get a lot of jobs in, sometimes in and out, sometimes take forever. This job was supposed to be engine, trans, air suspension, out the door. Well, some things snowball, and this is pretty much an avalanche. For starters, the master cylinder was all up underneath the bottom from the factory, so that's all in the way. So, you know, the wiring just looks like a bird nest underneath here. There's no way to tie in our wiring to this and to make it reliable. I mean, we could hit a bump and short out everything underneath this thing. You know, there's just problem after problem all in here. So we gotta rip everything out and put everything in brand new. We didn't plan on working on the firewall, the trans tunnel, the floor on the 40 Ford. But we can't let this thing leave the shop looking like it did. You know, we always expect the unexpected, but it always hurts.
Okay, that was the last of the wiring. The AC out, all the wiring, the column. So now this thing's not a trash wagon. We got all the garbage out of it. Next step I'm gonna do is go ahead and fill in all these holes in the firewall and make it beautiful again. Look at this. This is flimsy.
It's not really good metal. So I'm gonna cut it out. What I'm doing right now is just making my rough template. Let's transfer this over to sheet metal. Once I do that, I can go ahead and trim, do what I need to do to get the piece to fit properly. Roll it, fill it in. Yeah, no, this is riddled. All this needs to go. Start from scratch, put fillet welds on them. I'm gonna make it nice, clean, and smooth. Around these bigger holes, I'm gonna have to make sheet metal fillets. Take care of this, make it look beautiful. We got this nice new motor in here. Make everything nice and clean.
All right, so the next step is do the transmission tunnel. We're gonna try to make this as low as possible and as small as possible. And go over to the shear, to the brake, bend it, and roll it, and twist it, and pinch it, and poke it. Now you gotta dance on that metal. You gotta let it know who the real moneymaker is. The roll is like just dead on the money. So, probably gonna get some cardboard and a marker and make me a template and transfer it here to the tunnel and just start trimming and cutting and trimming. And cutting and trimming some more.
Looks nice.
Yeah, I gotta do some more cutting.
Well, trying to give the benefit of the doubt. Other side looks real good.
Got the transmission tunnel tacked into place. What I'm gonna do is just take some sheet metal, fill in this patch back here. All right, so we got the trans tunnel in here. The thing's super low. Got our little filler piece over here. It's all tacked in. Gonna start welding up a little bit on it. Do a few other little patches here and there, and we're moving on.
How's it looking in here?
It's looking all right. Slowly stabbing away at this thing.
Man, it looks real good. It's mounted nice. No holes in the floor. I like that. It looks safe now.
Yeah.
So just make sure you got as much room as possible in here. We want the seat as far back as we can in this thing. The long trips that get old all cramped up.
No doubt.
So I know you got this.
Right on. Appreciate it. So I gotta scrape all this dynamite out of the way. That way I can get a clean surface so I can weld to. So I'm taking a few measurements. I'm making me some angles, get some bracketry in here.
My grandfather told me one time that if someone else can do it, so can you. Sure. I've always took that with me and always push myself further and further. I want to always step it up some and do something different out of the box.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about working here. It's like every day we come in, it's like, oh, I was working on this truck yesterday.
Boom, yeah. You're over there.
We're over on this car now.
So everybody's got their own little niche. I pick up things from you. I pick up things from John, or we're working with people side by side.
Vice versa. It's a real team. Some people, they wake up every day and they go to that same cookie cutter job, doing the same exact thing every single day, that repetition. And it's just like, that's not for me. That desk job, cubicle, whatever it might be. I like this. I like, this is me.
I agree.
When Chris drove up in his 1940 Ford, this thing looked in real good shape, but we ended up having to do a lot more metal work to the frame and the cab than we planned.
Just got the frame back to powder coat. Everything looks nice and gloss black. Took a lot of hard work for me and Ryan to get the frame to look like this. Everything looks good. All the welds look good. So now it's time to go ahead and put it all back together.
We're almost there. We're painting the dash, color matching the engine with this million clips. That looks good. Fuel cell, new air suspension, and we definitely couldn't let him drive out missing the wiper blade. Not every easy job is easy. Sometimes the easy jobs just snowball into huge ones. This is a prime example. to get the job done right, sometimes it just takes a little extra work. In this case, a lot of extra work. I know when they see it, they're going to be super happy with what we've done. Today we're out in Old Town Spring. We're going to give Chris and Deborah their 1940 Ford back. Hey, what a great place, huh?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Old Town Spring just gives you that old feel that just it just fits the truck, right?
Exactly. Perfect.
Well, let's check this thing out. I'm getting Ryan to bring it around right now.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it looks fantastic.
Like the nail to ride.
Right?
Yeah.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. There we go. There you go, Bill. That's the look I want.
I've never seen an old truck do that before.
There was license plates crammed up in here, all inside to make patches on top of patches on top of patches on the
Oh my
floor.
goodness. Wow.
So we addressed all that to start with, replacing all the sheet metal. We got the new center console, repainted the dash, upgraded the gauges, got everything is all brand new. It's all 100% brand new. And of course, we got that other wiper blade on there.
Yes, definitely. Had to have that.
Thank you. As a passenger, thank you.
It's going to be fun riding.
It is.
Right.
It definitely is.
What Bill's done now is just amazing, and definitely something that will last, well, probably our lifetime.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Perfect.
Hope you guys have, many happy years with it.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate it.
I can tell by the look on their faces, this is definitely what they wanted. They just didn't even know it. With all that extra work involved, it's days like today that really pay off to make a customer a happy customer.
They left the back side on Ford with the heartbeat of a Chevy. That's us.
That's us.
Really appreciate that they took care of this truck like it was their own, and they made it better.
They dropped it to the floor. That was just amazing. Can't wait to get it on the road, put some miles on it, and win some trophies at some shows.
Back in the day, Earl Campbell was one of the best football players and the toughest that anybody's ever seen. We're going to get him an engine to this 49 Caddy that's up to his standards. A brand new LSX 454 with over 600 horsepower. Now that we've built a custom chassis, suspension, and fixed all the body, we got to make space for this engine. Man, this definitely isn't going to work. Well, the problem is, no room to mount our upper control arms. All this core support's in our way. I guess this is the old school crumple zone. So the best course of action, cut all this completely out of the way. You'll have more room for the radiator, have more room for the wheel, have more room for the upper control arm, have more room for the power steering lines. It's a win, 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 win. Then we'll go back in and weld some support back in this thing and make it look cool while we're doing it. Make everything way easier. That's it. Let's get to chopping. My specialty. This is a big build and then some. We definitely have our work cut out for us. As a kid working on this build for the Earl Campbell. He's given a lot to this city. I think I'm speaking for all the guys at the shop. We cannot gonna be built like a tank.
We heard on the street they was up to something. We had to come check it out. This is gonna be crazy, man. I can't wait to see this, man.
Customizing a delivery van definitely has some challenges, but this is actually gonna change Dave's life.
They told me it can't be done.
You're in the right spot.
Beautiful.
Ryan, bring it on in.
Oh my God, dude. I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
When I first seen her, I thought it would have been better off if I just would have turned that thing away, but, you know, that's not what Extensive is about. We like the challenge. We like, you know, when somebody comes in and says you can't do that, that's more reason to do it. You know, I don't know if it's where I'm from or what, but there's something inside me that just doesn't like to be told, that's too hard. This is too much work. Thinking too big. You know, when I hear stuff like that, that's just when it's time to get to work. Going through and putting this car together, that's when you really start to get the ideas of making this thing different from all the other Cadillacs around. You know, if you're only going to do the easy jobs, there's never a challenge. What's the point? We're in the dream-making business. So that's what we're about to do on Earl's right now.
Pretty cool working on this Cadillac, man. I've been around Cadillacs pretty much my whole life, you know. Mostly in my scene, in the lowrider scene.
Man, a Cadillac's one of them cars that's always going to stand the test of time. It's got the name. It's made for the king.
You know, a famous car for a famous NFL player, Earl Campbell, you know.
Y'all talking about the Cadillac?
Oh, yes.
Man, you remember when this thing came in? I was getting a little nervous when it started rolling in and rolling in and rolling in and rolling in, right? You know, parts on a wrecker, trailer, in the car for Earl Campbell. You can't not get him hooked up, right?
Mm-hmm. Now I just need to finish it.
You know, we've already got the new frame underneath this thing. The body's all mounted to the frame with the custom air suspension. The rust is all repaired. This thing's really starting to look like something now. I'm getting excited. Time to put that new engine in, a brand new LSX for this thing. So he's got plenty of power.
Can't believe we're putting LSX in it. Mm-hmm. That's going to be awesome.
You know, in the engine compartment too, I want to redo the firewall. Give him a nice bead rolled firewall, something that looks totally different, right? And not only new firewall, I want new sheet metal, nice fender wells that roll down and kind of mold to the firewall. And when Earl sees this thing, I really want him to go, man, this is cool. John, I know you worked on a lot of Cadillacs, buddy. You got room for one more, huh?
One more.
All right. I'm going to go get this engine. Let's get going. All right.
I never drove a Cadillac with air suspension, but I drove a Cadillac with hydraulics. It was beautiful. I'd love to take this thing out for a ride.
You know, Earl Campbell's a Hall of Famer, but before that, he was just a kid from Texas. He used his God-given talents to do things that nobody special as he is. Every piece of metal work we're going to do on this Caddy is going to have design details in places most folks will never even see.
We're going to take the time to make this engine bay look really good, just as good as the outside of the car. So what we're going to do is make a really nice tub and make it look like all one piece. That way it kind of fills in this engine bay, but not so much where you're going to hide the motor. We want the motor with as much visibility as possible. That's the heart of the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this filler panel here, but I'm going to make it look cool. It's just not going to be no flat piece that's going to come down from the top to the bottom. I'm going to make it roll out and then roll back down and give it a little style, you know? Make it look cool, just like the car is. Now we got this nice pretty piece tacked in place. I can continue rolling this on another panel to come all the way down. Now the easiest way to hold this in place without tacking it is to use this little thing called a Kiko. This is similar to a removable rivet, I guess you would call it. I don't want to tack it in place yet because I might have to remove it when I mess with the firewall. So all those little Kikos hold that in place, and these flat bars make it flush with the other pieces of the firewall. We can get these out of the way since they're just Kikoed in. Cool thing about working on such a large car and this big engine bay, it's gonna be a lot of fun to fill this space with something cool and custom.
I'm not sure if you've seen old footage of Earl Campbell running with a football, but man, he was fast, powerful, and just mean. He didn't run from a hit, he just dished them out. So we want an engine that runs just as powerful as old Earl did back in the day. Well, almost as much. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Man, good.
All right. You here to pick up that new engine?
You know it.
And this is that one for that 49 Caddy, right?
Man, you know we need a lot of power in that thing. Big, yes, heavy sir. Cadillac like that.
The one who towed Earl Campbell around in?
Yep.
Well, here comes your engine right here.
Man, let's check this thing out. Man, this is exactly what we need for old Earl. Small package and a big punch. What's the horsepower on this?
627 and 586 foot-pounds of torque.
Man.
Well, I know you're going to be happy with it, and I hope Earl Campbell will be happy with.
Start building around it. This LSX is just a power plant to have, much like the old 454s that were in all the hot rods back in the day. The LSX is much lighter, a lot smaller, and more efficient than the original, but with a ton of power. This engine is definitely the one to put in a build like this.
Engine's in before lunch.
Looks pretty dang good.
Just one spoiled Cadillac, huh?
Right? You know, most of the time the engine compartments are so crammed you don't really get to see everything in it. Man, this thing is a V12 in this thing. You know, on the firewall too, man. We have so much room, we don't even have to notch it for the transmission tunnel. And I love this design you have here. And how about we incorporate this into the firewall itself so it come down and have that little, that 3D look too. You know, John and I are old school fabricators. So with the metal work on this car, we're definitely not using a computer. We take what's in our heads and make it with our hands. Man, I know this is becoming one of your favorites. Got to.
Yeah, sure is, Colin.
Me too. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that gives us room for ideas.
We kind of got an idea of what we want to do on this firewall to make it match these inner fenders. Thinking of it is cool, but doing it is a whole different ballgame. So it's going to take me a little time to figure out all these angles. Got to do it right the first time. If not, we got to start all over from the beginning. So measure it, calculate before I start bending. A lot of bends. This is the radius that we got on the inner fender. This is the piece that's going to go across the bottom of the firewall. And I just want to try to get them to match. We want to keep that same radius throughout the whole engine bay. It's kind of hard because there's like a million things going on in here at once. Playing a little game of small cuts. Cutting a little bit at a time till it fits in place right. Because if you cut too much, then you got a big hole you got to fill. And it'll fit right in there just the way we want. Now that the lower road part of the firewall's in, it's time to make the top part of the firewall. I'm going to trace the shape of the cowl onto the panel, cut it out, slap it back on there, and then we're going to design what we're going to bead roll on here. We'll be able to get rolling. About that.
I love it. I love that rolled edge, how it goes around. That really helps out. How about something with a V pattern here in the core support? So that just makes sense to carry that on through. The letter V has been a design element on Caddies as long as I can remember. So on Earl Campbell's 49 Cadillac, we're putting subtle V touches everywhere, including the firewall. I think it'll play in all together with the whole design of the engine compartment. I think something like that. You know, of course, we want to lay it out a little better, a little more square, but...
Oh, you want it straight?
Yeah.
I removed the panel from the firewall, and all I'm doing is straightening out all the lines that we rough sketched in here, make everything even all the way around. I'm going to draw me out some straight lines that I'm going to follow with the rolls on the bead roller. Little tip. Take your time, roll it slow so you can follow your line straight. You roll it too fast and you get a little wiggly, you'll see it in your roll. So you gotta have some patience. If not, we gotta start all over. I think that looks pretty damn good. And we're ready to tack this thing in place. An original Cadillac symbol, meaning V8, fits the car really well, especially having this nice LSX 454 in the engine compartment. Make it feel at home.
Not every build that comes through here is going to be for someone as famous as Earl. No matter what the build, we always put in the same passion and talent. Because of that person, their build, big or small, is the most important thing in the world to them. You know, when a white Sprinter van pulls up to the shop, you automatically think you're getting a package. But in this case, it's going to be a very important build. You know, we're super busy right now, but when Dave and his family called me out of the blue, I told them to come on over, I'll take a look. How you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself? Doing good.
What's happening?
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
What y'all got going on today?
Well, last September, I bought me a 2017 Mercedes Sprinter, and it is very, very difficult for me to get in. I come from a motocross background, started when I was 4 years old, and at the age of 31, I was out at Three Palms, and came up short. Actually didn't come up short, I just went over the bars, and that was the end of that.
So that's what put you in the chair?
That's what put me in the chair. The end goal is from a seat.
And what you need is it down on the ground so you can get in and drive this thing.
Absolutely. So the way the van sits right now and as high as it is, it's too difficult for my family to be putting me in and out. And so it's time. It's been 16 years. And it's time for me to drive myself. I've searched around quite a bit, took it to several different shops, was asking about putting it on bags, and they told me it can't be done. They just said they don't do it when I asked to drop it. And here I am.
We were told no so many times. And Dave Jr. said, hey, Dad, I heard about this guy. I think he can do it. You're in the right spot.
I hear you. Like to hear.
I have friends that race. I love off-roading too. You know, of course, when you hear a story like this, you just want to get in and help. You know, anything we can do to make his life better, we're definitely going to do it. I see these Mercedes Sprinter vans everywhere because even though it doesn't look super cool, this 2017 has a super efficient diesel and it has tons of space to put whatever you want in it. Now, let's check this thing out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely see the height here. You'd have to have a 20-foot ramp to get up in this thing easily.
Yeah.
You need this thing down the ground so you can have a ramp go up in it.
A ramp would be nice. A ramp would be really nice.
When you're in it, you need that chair out of the way so you can pull up into
what I would like is for the front seat to swivel. You know, I don't want to drive from a power chair. Plus, I don't like it. Seems like it's just super dangerous to me.
We definitely got you on that.
That sounds great.
So you have a motocross history. You like cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
We got to get rid of this delivery van look, man.
Yeah, it looks pretty much like a cargo van.
So what do you think about wrapping this thing, putting some cool wheels and tires on it, dropping it? This thing is going to look cool.
I just want to be part of the family, bud.
That's it.
Hey, if you can put one truck that high up in the air, I got faith that you can put one on the ground.
Oh, we're going to do it.
Dude, you're going to make me pass out, man. I have full confidence that these guys have it, and, I mean, I'm just ready. I'm just excited. I can't wait.
All right, man, let's go make it happen.
Let's do it.
Customize a lot of vehicles at the shop, but you know, a Sprinter van is definitely lower on the list of sought after vehicles. You know, customize some challenges. We got a work cut out for us for that, of not only serving a purpose to help Dave in his life to make it easier, but he wants something cool also. We do builds all the time at Extensive. We get them in, out every day. You know, this project right here is a little more special. I mean, this is actually going to change Dave's life.
Why do you have a delivery van?
No, man, we're not fixing a delivery van. Customer's name's Dave. You know, he had a motocross accident, so he's in the wheelchair. So what we're going to try to do is give him that freedom, independence back to do what he needs to do. But it needs to look cool, too.
Yeah, we can take care of that. It's our business.
That's it, man. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some air suspension on this thing to drop this thing down to the ground. So we're going to pull out the leaf springs in the rear, you know, clean all the axle off and build the 2 links for the rear. Get it super low.
No doubt.
Same with the front. Put in all the new compressors, tanks, the whole nine.
So we're trying to give him something else back that's a lot of fun that he can do on his own and have a good time.
Exactly. Not only to the van. So we're going to install a wheelchair ramp that shoots out the side of this thing. Dave can ride right in himself and do his thing. Once we figure out the ramp situation, the next thing we're going to tackle the custom driver's seat. So he can put himself in the chair, spin himself right around, go on about his day, and have that independence back.
Super convenient. So you going to stick with the smuggler look, the all white, or are we doing something cooler?
No delivery van. No, we're going to definitely, it's got the motocross background. He needs to have that cool feeling of riding around also. So we're going to start out wrapping this thing, and then we're going to finish it off with some really cool wheels.
Awesome. It's a little bit out of the ordinary, but it's going to be pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Well, I'm ready to get started on this thing. Let's get it on the 2 posts. Knock this thing out, man.
Sounds good, man. Lowering this van to the ground is going to look awesome. So we're going to change up the rear suspension on this van. We're going to change it over to a 2-link. So I'm going to take these leaf springs out, the shocks. But I'm going to start stripping this stuff off and get to business. All right, now I got all that taken apart. It's time to get these leaf springs out. We're going to need as much space as, now that I have everything out of my way, I'm going to take this little 1/2 inch out, and that's a 1/2 inch lower that we're going to be.
This van has a steel unibody, which means the frame is built into the body. Luckily, we have just enough room to fit the air suspension, so we don't have to cut notches, which is cool. It saves us a lot of work.
We got the big springs out of the way. That's going to let this thing sit way low to the ground. We're not going to cut the floor, not going to do a C-notch, so we're just going to set the axle right on the unibody itself. So it's going to be super low and have perfect angle for that ramp.
Is that a 22 going on here? 24.
He said 22.
It's really getting a 24 for us. Oh, it's going to be freaking huge.
It's not every day we get to work on a 2017 Sprinter, but also it's not every day we get to change someone's life. Putting this van on air suspension is going to get Dave that much closer to driving.
Since the sheet metal on these rear tubs is so thin, it's not as solid as we like. So we're going to add some structure into this thing. We're going to brace the frame, brace the bottom of the floor, and we're also going to put a little plate here. We can through bolt it. Everything's working with each other here. Nothing's working against each other. It's like with as much weight as it's going to be carrying and the load and the sway and everything, it needs to be structurally sound. I came at the perfect time.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Thank you, buddy.
There you go. You can go ahead and clean them up.
It's hot.
Watch out.
What I'm doing is trying to get this 90-degree angle right on the money. And then the next one, you just hammer down on the pedal. That doesn't work for you. Perfect. Back to the van. So right on the money. That's exactly what we wanted. Now we can punch some holes in this. Connect the dots, and now we're one step closer to having the rear suspension built. Now that we got our plates made, you can see everything kind of coming together. And we can through bolt it to the inside of the cab, put a backing plate on the other side, and you get a little bit more structure out of it that way. Over the years, we've been known for, making kits for just about any application, any car, any truck, anything like that. But when we have builds like this or just one-off builds, we typically build, we could easily go pull something off the shelf and throw it on here and just make it work. But later on down the line, you might run into a problem. So I like to just literally make every part and piece for every single vehicle that I build. That way I know 100% that it's perfect for what we're building it for. Beautiful. Love it. And that's lunch.
And yoga has started. Now that John's finished fabricating the engine bay on Earl's 49 Cadillac, he's going to move into the cab.
So what we're going to do is continue to firewall back over the transmission. So I'm making a trans tunnel. I'm going to make a template of how I want this end of it shaped. I never took art class, but instead of doing schoolwork, I was drawing in all my notebooks. tunnel shape and make it flow into the floorboards. Pretty close. Now we got a whole lot of cutting to do. When you're hand building something, you're building it in place and oh, that'll work. You know, everything's made to fit. First piece in, I got about 2 more to go. I know Earl's not gonna mind what his trans tunnel looks like while he's driving this car down the road, but this thing is gonna be built like a tank, and I'm sure he'll love it as much as I do.
Our next step of getting the floor sheet metal put in is mocking the rear end up. You know, this thing's got 600 plus horsepower, almost just as much torque. So we need a rear end that's really going to stand up to all that. So we got a fabricated 9-inch. Then we can build our drive shaft tunnel around the mocked up drive shaft. And then we'll start building the floor around that.
Now it's time to cut our center section out of our floor. Let's see if we can do a straight line. Then we can put our drive shaft tunnel in. Now we got the tunnel in, pinion angle was set. What I'm gonna do is bottom out that axle so we can put our new inner tubs in.
I love adding style in a place you least expect it. You know, that's what a full build is. John's finishing up the metalwork with as many design elements as possible in the rear of the 49 Caddy.
You know, when taking apart these old cars, sometimes you gotta use your head, not only to do it right, but to hold the parts. What I did here is I got me a piece of pipe that'll fit in this axle hub. I cut me out a piece of flat bar about the height of the tire. What I'm gonna do is use this, make me a perfect circle of where I need to cut to put our new tub in here. Now with this all opened up, move on to the other side and get that cut out. Since we had our rear end bottomed out, we know what our very top needs to be. Now we need to figure out how wide it needs to be front and back. And now we could do that same thing we just did at that height, and we will get a perfect arc at an 18-inch radius. This is all coming together real nicely. We got our fenders put back on, got them all welded out. Now we can cap the inner tubs and get our notch cover built. A custom car. You know, this could have been a flat panel, and what would we have done? You know, undercoated the car or something, bed lined it. But now that we have this nice little design, it could be painted glossy and it'll look good. You know, it's just a little added touch to doing something that's worthwhile. One challenge we got is the notch has 2 crossbars from frame roll to frame roll that bow like this. So what I'm gonna do is make a template to that contour and get that template transferred onto a piece of sheet metal. I'm gonna draw me some designs and bead roll it to match what we got on the firewall. See how it looks? Would you look at that? Man, it looks real good.
For Dave, these airbags are going to lower this van, and it's totally going to help out for this ramp we're going to install. He'll be able to drive for the first time in 16 years. It's a total game changer. Wrapping it up, huh?
Yeah, you came in at the perfect time.
They always come at the perfect time. Looks real good. Thank you. All the suspension's done, huh? Line's done, electrical's done.
Yeah, dude, I got everything mounted, tucked up in here really nice and together and not all over the place. Usually we jinx ourselves saying, "Oh, it's going to happen."
We're going to have one easy every once in a while, right?
They can't all be difficult all the time, huh?
No, they can. Well, cool. Let's get the wheels on and get this thing on the ground, man. Let's see what it looks like. And then we'll start working on the inside.
Yeah, buddy. All right.
All right, Ryan, let's drop this thing down. No more delivery van, right?
Nah. It's right there on the mud flaps, man.
Right?
It's sick. Until we get them wheels on there, it's gonna look good, man.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's get this thing aired up. Let's get it on a drive-on lift so we can start building the ramp on this thing.
Sounds good, man.
The ramp needs to be installed flush with the floor. So Ryan's got to make an opening for it.
All right, so I used the framing square just to find out where my door was. We know here is our door. We're not going any further past this point. Here's the center of the actual opening of the door and everything we got. So we have this much room to work with. Our deck is 41 1/8. So within our parameters, we have a lot of room to work with, which is really good. And just triple check your measurements, because we're about to cut the entire floor of this thing out. All right, now that I have all my lines done, I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this whole section out where our ramp is gonna go. All right, so you can see from the inside here where our lines are, where they're coming down. We're already planning on reboxing this whole entire frame into the unibody, and we're gonna plate the side of it and then cap the top off once we're done and have everything bolted in where we need it. So just to get this whole center out of the way, cut this whole top section out, and then we have a wide open area we can work with, full measurements, and do what we gotta do. It's loose? Yeah, it's loose. It's not heavy. Got it? Yeah, I got it. So now I got this big hole in the middle of this floor. I want to get the ramp in here, and I want to see exactly what we're looking like. Hey, be careful on the floor right there. See if you can hop down into the floor, onto the ground. This ramp isn't meant for this van. It's meant for like a tour bus. So what we're doing is trying to make this work for what we got, This is what we do. We're fabricators. If we can see it, we can make it happen. So what we're doing is, making it happen. And that's the job. That's what we do. I'm gonna make a channel that will go over the frame rail to cap our frame rail where we cut it in half and stitch all the way down the frame rail and work our way. We're gonna have to brace all this up, make a mount for this thing to actually sit on, and put some structure back into this van. Now we got the main structure tacked into place. We got our frame rails boxed in, and we got the actual track that our ramp is bolted to. So really all that's left to do now is weld this up, patch some holes up, and we'll be ready to wire it up and test this thing out.
We're going to make as many parts as we can for Earl's 49 Caddy right here in the shop. However, there's a few parts we need. So when it came to the radiator, we had to have one specifically built for this job. In the shape of a V, of course.
Front of the car is exactly what this thing needed. Get all this cut out and just continue to make the little V shape here.
Hell yeah, build a support around the radiator.
Man, I've never seen a V radiator before.
Yeah, me neither. That is nice. The bottom part of the core support, which comes out all the way to the front bumper, we're gonna make that all one piece, and it gets welded to the fenders. This is gonna be one complete unit now with everything welded together. We're ready to get our radiator mocked up. We got these side pieces tacked in, which is gonna isolate where you can only view the radiator. Got that nice radiator in there. The edges need to look good too. We're gonna start forming this top part of here, so it's all one piece and structurally strong, and it looks damn cool. Make us a really nice fitment right there. Now what I'm gonna do is get that excess off. Now I got these pieces fitted in here pretty nice. Then we're gonna run us a couple bead rolls on these panels, kind of liven it up a little bit so it's not just so flat. Looks pretty good. So what I did here was I started off with maximum pressure here, and once I got to this line I drawn, which is 10 inches away from the edge, I started slowly fade out look instead of just a hard stop. Man, them lines match up perfectly. Little flavor to the front end here. now we got this whole front end pretty much done. Got the groove fit in her perfect. This thing is looking really, really good.
Today's a milestone in the 49 Cadillac. After about 3 months of metal work, it's finally rolling over to the body shop.
From where it started to where it is now is a huge difference, and it's a good feeling seeing it come from the fab shop, finally going to the body shop, then start the body and paint.
We got the ramp working on Dave's 2017 Sprinter van, but I definitely can't let it leave the shop in the delivery van white. So John and Jose wrapped the back of the van glossy black to make it look like it has a rear window, and they're wrapping the rest in a brushed black.
So the next step now is putting the razor wire on. As you can see, there's a tiny wire inside this tape. This allows me to get straight cuts whenever I put another overlapping vinyl on top. And once I'm to never put a blade on it, I won't be able to scratch it or damage my gloss black window.
A lot of people come to us to go get color changes. They're bored of their existing paint job and they want something new. Or certain models like Ferraris or Lamborghinis, they only come a certain color selection. Well, some clients, they want to be unique, so they do whatever it takes. They come to us, we get it done, and they're happy. And when they get tired of it, we remove it. The resale value doesn't get affected. The original paint is protected underneath, brand new.
Now with the wire all pulled out, all we gotta do is pull out the green tape. And you can see the straight, perfect line it leaves behind. Perfect.
Well, let's go ahead and start getting these side panels put in.
Always love giving a vehicle back to its owner. But this 2017 Sprinter van is just a little something extra because Dave's just going to be that much closer to driving. So we're installing a swivel seat for easier access, new 24-inch wheels, and some red accents to match those wheels.
I haven't sat in the driver's seat in 16 years, man. And the day's here, so I'm pumped.
You know, a lot of people have their own style, their own customization, but here, you know, the customization just keeps evolving. There's not blueprints, there's not schematics to do what we do. Everything we customize here is specifically to that build. Two of the same cars could come in here, but when they both leave, they'll be totally different and totally cool. You know, that's why I like coming to work. That's why I love doing what I do, just to get tested. I get bored any other way. I gotta have the challenge. I gotta have the creativity, you know, to get in and create something with my hands, to make something just cool. You know, bolting on the same parts day after day, you know, that's cool, but that's not the definition of custom to me. You know, building it all back up with as many parts as you can by hand, that's the definition of custom. How you doing? I mean, it's always because we're giving this 2017 Sprinter van back to Dave, and I can't wait to see his reaction. Man, I know it's been a while. I know you've been waiting patiently.
When you're in this position, bro, that's the first thing you learn. Patience.
Are you ready to check this thing out? I know you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Ryan, bring it on in.
Oh my God, dude. Oh man, this is beautiful, dude. You gotta be kidding me, man.
Fine looking.
You gotta be kidding me.
That's what I was waiting to see. That's
you gotta
cool.
be kidding me, man.
What you think, man?
Bro, that is something else. Whoa, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, dude.
Oh man. It doesn't look like that delivery van anymore, does it?
Oh, no, sir. That's why I brought it to you, Bill. There is nothing you can't do. It's overwhelming, dude. Seriously, man.
Because at first it could not be done.
Oh, man. We did it.
You did it. You absolutely did it.
You guys ready to check this thing out?
I'm ready to open that thing up and let me check that ramp out because I know we got a ramp inside the thing, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Check it out.
Oh my gosh.
Man, buddy, that ain't just something you just bolt on either. We had to cut the whole floor of the van out, restructure everything, and then make everything mount back. So you have two sets of controls. One will control the airbags, front, up and down, back, up and down. And the center button right there operates the ramp.
Check it out.
Check it out,
Check it out, dude.
That's it, man. You think you can work with that?
Absolutely, dude. My power chair is going to have no problem going up in there. I'm just really stoked.
It was a first for us also, and hope you like it, man. It's pretty sick.
You know, once you're up in there, we have installed a swivel seat on the factory seat there, so
awesome.
And added some handles on there, so you can spin that thing around from the back and get up in it and do what you need to do, man. Go on about whatever you want to do, all on your own.
Wow, I'm speechless, man. Speechless.
You know, of course, we had to add some cool wheels and tires too. This had to be made specifically for this van. If we're going to have some made, we got to have some cool ones made too, right?
Oh, yes.
You know, after all that was done, we couldn't have the delivery van look. We had to have this thing wrapped. You know, John and Jose over at Pixel Works came in with a brushed black.
Beautiful.
And man, that just really sets it off.
I mean, I can't believe the job you've got. I'm surprised you named it in Copperfield, man, because it's magic, bro. It's magic.
I like to speak for all the guys at the shop. This is something special for us also. You know, not only a chance to do suspension on something that we don't normally do, a challenge of making the delivery van look cool, but to give you that independence back to really help you out in that aspect of your life. I mean, it's cool to be able to do for us also.
And that's what it's all about, is independence, buddy. I'm stoked, man. Ready to get in this thing and go down the road. You guys don't get it, man. For someone like me, to be behind the driver's seat again, or behind the steering wheel, it's overwhelming. I haven't been behind a wheel in 16 years, bro. 16 years, man. Oh, man, dude.
Man, you look good in there.
I feel good in here. I don't even know what to say, man, but thanks.
Man, I appreciate that.
Tim, what up with it, man?
What you doing out rolling around?
I'm good, man. You know, I'm just cruising.
How's the car treating you?
Man, I'm loving it, man. You already know I'm loving it, man. Hey, look, all that small talk. Real reason why we here. We heard y'all was over here trying to outdo the Mac. That's the truth. Y'all trying to shut the Mac down.
Man, I knew Raymond didn't show up to say hi. What's up, Tim?
We heard on the street they was up to something. We been hearing a few words on the street that they've been working on something special over here. We had to come check it out. We had to come and check it out. I know Bill was up to something. They was too quiet, Ron. I knew it too, man. Real deal, Bill. Hey, what's going on around here, Bill?
What up, man?
Man, what are you working on over here, man?
What you up to, Bill?
That's it.
Look at him. That's a 40s Cadillac.
That's it. 49.
This is going to be crazy, man. I can't wait to see this, man.
You already know who it's for, huh?
Yeah. Camel, man. You know, we heard word on the street, so we had to pull up and see what was going on. Let me hit the club in this one.
So was this bad and slim? You know, this wasn't even a complete car when we got it.
Man.
It was just a body, a frame, crates of parts just crammed in.
Oh, you was going to rebuild it anyway, man. So it don't matter. You just that's what you do.
This is Earl's first custom car, so I really want him to just be impressed. You know, all around the bottom of this thing, all the sheet metal's all been gone through and straight. Built a new chassis from bumper to bumper on the front.
That's going to be mean, man. What kind of energy you got up in there?
An LSX.
Wow. What is he going to do with all that power?
Man, whatever he wants, right?
Earl Camel's like stuff big, you know, you're running back. He's running over people, you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. All over the city in that, man. That's crazy. I sure don't like that, though. Man. Hey, man, you put the V in there for the Cadillac? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You see that, Slim? I see that. Sneak that V on. You see what they did?
One of the coolest things about this car is when you pop the hood, John fabricated all the panels inside the firewall.
He thought we didn't see that. Okay. You gotta watch it, you know what I'm talking about? I seen that V right there. They wasn't gonna even tell her. I like Earl a lot. Yeah. But I don't like Bill that might be trying to take us out. You know they gonna show him extra love because who he is. I sure don't like that, man. That's cold, boy. That's all right. What color you going, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Black on black. Yes,
You had to have it.
2 black legs back to back on the freeway.
That's gonna be nice.
That's gonna be nice, man. You know Earl gonna let you drive it.
Yeah, I sure hope we
You good. I can't wait.
That'll ease the pain a little bit. You know, the next step's the interior on this thing. And we really got some custom touches for him. It's really something special. You hear that, Slim?
I can't wait to see it.
That part. You
They got secrets. Well, let me know if you don't like it. I might go back.
Yeah, we for sure set the bar on Slim's Cadillac. But stay tuned, because we got some stuff planned for Earl's that are going to go way beyond that.
We'll keep our ear to the street on
Thank
y'all
you.
to see what